Hey guys, welcome back. More Disney Infinity, and we are once again under construction. This was one of the last toy boxes I was able to put together and get out there before the servers went down. Hopefully you had a chance to pick it up. And if you did, this is kind of what went into the making of it. As you can tell, a lot of this is going to be on fast speed just to get through it quickly. And it won't have all the details, but it'll have the key ingredients. So the first thing we did was started laying down the lower track. And there'll be one above this. Now, originally my plan was I was going to go with a hologram on the lower end, but I realized once it was all laid out that it allowed you to see the logic, which that was distracting, and I didn't like that. And I also thought it would be better to move the hologram to the second level, which is technically the top level, because then when you're on the lower level, you'd be able to see the action that's going on above you, and when you're on the upper level, you'd be able to see the floor below you. And as these orbs are spawning in, they're going to be random, so it'll help the players to know if it's on the same level they're on or not, and can create some real tense drama there. If you're both seeing this thing down, let's say on the lower level, you're both on top, you're both racing for that exit ramp to get there first and to get the orb. I just like that. So as you can see here, we switched it up. We went with the TRON grid for the lower floor, and now we're going to go with the hologram on the upper floor. So now that the track is pretty much done, we need to put some sort of barriers up to keep you from flying off the main grid and out into nowhere land where you're going to end up de-resing. So some standard wood blocks along with the TRON theme is what we're going to go with here. Now I should say that this toy box was inspired by someone else's work, but theirs was a little bit less challenging to me. I wanted some ramps, I wanted some flying around with the light cycles, and theirs didn't offer that. And it would have been nice to just be able to change a little bit of it around and tweak it a bit, but unfortunately theirs was set up where you couldn't make any adjustments to the game, so I just made my own and made it a little bit different. And again, to me, their lower track level offered nothing other than lower track. There was no point to go to the lower track. Whereas with this one, that's where orbs will occasionally be spawning, so you'll have to use it. I think I just left this in there simply because it reminds me of when the servers worked, and I wanted to have some sort of remembrance of that. Even the green clouds, I miss them. So as we continue on here, one of the things about the lower track that I wanted to have different than the upper track is that if you left the pathway, which is much less to work with and to negotiate up on the top deck, you can kind of move your way around any way you want to. On the lower deck, however, you've got a H-pattern track that you've got to stick to, because if you leave that track on the lower level, you will de-res. So right now we're starting to put in some of the logic. We're working on counters, but I think I end up going with a scoreboard instead. My original plan was to go with the counters, but then I knew it was just going to be a lot easier to do it with the scoreboard. I'm going to lay out the replayers because we're going to need those for the orbs. Got 6 of those. We've got our randomizer. This way you never know where the orbs are going to appear, and it keeps the game fresh each and every time out. We're going to need to have a challenge maker. We're going to add that here in just a few seconds. And as you can see, we are switching over to the team scoreboard instead. So right now we're looking at playing to 10 points because we want to collect 10 orbs. So whether it's player 1 or player 2, you have to get 10 orbs. We're not going to win by 2. Whoever gets 10 first wins, and the visible scoreboard, of course, will be on so that you know what the score is. As you can see, we've got the collection tracker out there as well. This way it'll acknowledge every time an orb is collected. And then it'll talk to the challenge maker, which right now we are setting teams up as soon as you spawn in, or as soon as you begin the game. Player 1 will automatically be on the blue team. And then again, once you've begun the game, player 2 will be on the orange team. So right here I'm making sure that the locators are hooked up to the challenge maker, where they know that one locator is for player 1 starting position, the other locator is for player 2 starting position. And again, if you're not familiar, when you put those locators down, one of the tips has a shaded, or I should say one of the points has a shaded tip on it. And that is going to tell you what direction the character will be facing when they spawn in. So you want to make sure they're back to back in this scenario. So now I've just told it that player 1 will be the blue team. Once again, we come back over to here again, and when the invitation is accepted, player 2 will be on the orange team. As you can see, there are a number of buttons here, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to need the one. And all I want to do is hook it up to the replayers, and it's going to clear all the replayers, and that's how you get them started at the beginning of a game when you first load into a toy box. If you don't do this, they're never going to work. In this case, one button will activate all 6 of them. Alright, now that they're activated, we're going to want them to eventually play back. We have to make sure there's something for them to play back. So one at a time, we're going to record. We're going to bring in an orb, and we're going to place it at a different location. In this case, we'll start with this one here. And we want to make it center, lower floor. And I think we're going to raise it just a little bit. This way it creates a hopping effect on the light cycle to get it. There we go. So that'll be the first one, and that's where that one will always spawn, but again, it's going to be a random selection, so you never know when it will. But this again also forces you to use both upper and lower deck. Alright guys, so by testing this thing out, I realized that those ramps had to go. Those lips and ledges were just throwing the light cycle all over the place, and it was not a fun experience at all. So I decided to switch to the wood blocks, going with the TRON theme. And once I get rid of the bridges here, or the ramps I should say, this made it a much smoother transition, a lot more entertaining. And as I finished this part up and realized I wasn't going to use even the walkway because it had the same issues, decided to go with the floor, the wood floor panel, and just go straight across the bridge. And again, this provided a much smoother transition, much easier handling. That's one of the big things when you're building these kind of toy boxes. You have a lot of testing to do, and you want to catch those kind of imperfections long before you release it to anyone. Otherwise, who's going to play it if it's that rough and that unenjoyable an experience? So again, take the ramps out. The wood blocks will go in. Now at this point, I've already tested the logic. I know that's working the way I wanted to. Everything's spawning in randomly. I've got the scoreboard accurate. The only thing really left to test at this point is the track itself. And one of the things I ended up learning pretty quickly was that it was a tight track. It was too tight to be any fun. You really couldn't negotiate it very well. So I don't have the video, but basically what I did is the upper deck, where all those wood blocks are on the outer edge, I pushed them all out probably a full square length away, about the size of one of those floor panels, all the way around. And then furthermore, when you got to the on ramps, or the off ramps, I guess depending which direction you're going onto the upper deck, in those corners I kind of bowed them out because you needed the extra space, because otherwise you could launch yourself straight off the grid. But after running that for a little while, I realized that was a pretty good setup. We had the ability to turn corners well enough, and you had the ramps for the extra jump and fun. So this is the last toy box I was able to get done in time for the servers. Hopefully you had a chance to get it. If not, feel free when I'm doing a live stream, hit me up, and if you want to take a whack at it, I'd be happy to have you do some share play. Alright guys, that's it for this time. Until next time, when once again we're under construction, remember, if you can dream it, you can do it.